as I said, we've now got a new seven-figure inductee.
We have that saying in jiu-jitsu, you either win or you learn. Like you get your ass kicked all the time, and every single time that happens, it's 100% your fault, and you get to learn from it each time. And that switch in mindset definitely happened when I started my own business. Free content that you give out, like you said, it's amazing. Like you could pretty much just watch a lot of that and figure out how to win.
What's going on, hustlers? Welcome back to the channel. And if you're new here, my name is Day Taven. We cover all things government contracting, specifically with the Defense Logistics Agency. And I have Mr. Sam White, my right-hand man, with me. And then we have a very unique entrepreneur here. We have a very unique case here to share with you guys today. We have Mr. Gordon of Firebird Optics. So Gordon, why don't you introduce yourself to the people, to the viewers? Let them know who they've got the pleasure of seeing on their screen this fine afternoon.
Well, thanks for that, Day and Sam. I'm Gordon. I'm with Firebird Optics. I've been in operation since 2021. In GovCon since late 2022. Officially got my first win mid 2023. My company specializes in optical components, and my biggest customer is the DLA, but I also do work with sam.gov, do a lot of direct business from my website, and just recently got into international contracts. So I'm kind of all over the map, and it's been a quick steep rise here. So I'm lucky and grateful. I'll put it that way.
You are a rocket ship, my friend. You are, in every sense of the word, quite literally on a rocket ship, and for that, we are very grateful to have you. And we also know that it has not been easy to schedule this with everybody's schedule. So we're very grateful. I always say it, as you guys become entrepreneurs and you guys take time out of your day, as you guys get busier and busier, it's not lost on us. You know, the essentially the opportunity cost that you guys invoke whenever you choose to hang out with us, as opposed to, you know, doing your thing and putting food on the table for the wife and kids. So it's not lost on us how grateful we are for your time. I'm going to stop talking now, as I say in every single one of these, and I'm going to let Sam run the show.
Yeah, well, I know, Gordon, we had our first conversation probably about almost a year ago to the day. I think you and I spoke first, and we began working with each other pretty much straight away from that conversation. And if I remember correctly, but give everyone the context of sort of what transpired that led you to getting into DLA and working with us. But from what I remember correctly, one thing you said to me was that COVID and the pandemic caused a big shift in your life, but fortunately for a lot of positive reasons, and what led you here. So speak to, give everyone a context of what life was like before you got into business and how you ended up getting to entrepreneurship.
Absolutely. So I've been my day job, which I still have, is in laboratory equipment. I've been doing that since 2012, and I started a company with my boss around then, and I still run that out of my house to this day. Um, During the early COVID lockdowns in March of 2020, I'd been commuting to Staten Island, which is a 2.5 2 hour drive out, about 2.5 back, 4 days a week. And during the early parts of the COVID pandemic, we're talking like March 2020, my boss and I had a conversation. We're like, you know what? Let's close this office. Let's keep it close to home. And I've been running that out of my home since March of 2020. A year later, I'd had this idea for a while to start up a side hustle, which is my new company, Firebird Optics. Did that in 2021. Finally got the nerve to start that up, and I got the idea because I've been getting emails in my day job company from optics suppliers being like, "Hey, do you want to start reselling our optics?" I'm like, "Why don't I just do that?" And I set up a website, started getting direct leads. Took about a year to start getting a little bit of traction. Some point around 2022, I watched the movie War Dogs again, which is like a cliche in this space, and I'd seen it a few times before. It just clicked. I said, I wonder if I can find government contracts that have optics in it. And sure enough, found sam.gov, found DLA through sam.gov, and I started just obsessively nerding out over every YouTube video, every single piece of information I could find on the internet. Uh, I found I'm in three DLA courses. You guys are the third one that I'm in, and I actually know Richard from the first course that I'm in, and he was one of the first guys I saw doing testimonial videos about the DLA. And I've been in touch with him the whole time, and he was like my early inspiration back in 2022. Took me a while. I got my JCP back in December 2022, and I started off from the jump just hunting tech doc contracts because that's what I do in my day job, and I do that in my regular company in Firebirds. That I get inquiries from customers that give me drawings all day long, and they say, "Hey, can you get me a quote for this custom optical component?" So I found that niche inside VLA from the outside, which is kind of a weird path to get here, and got my GCP December 2022. I got my first one in April 2023. It took me a while to get on there, and it was a tech doc win. It's for some gun range targets for night vision, and it's been just kind of rolling ever since. I started really getting traction around 2023, and I found you guys about, like Sam said, about a year ago in 2024. So, and you guys, I knew about you guys before because I talked to Richard. He mentioned Two Lines Aerospace. He mentioned Day, and the second you hit YouTube, I found your videos. I immediately subscribed, and I joined your class. So you were kind of pre-vetted for me.
So, just some context or a side note based off what Gordon said. Everybody, Gordon went straight to JCP and Tech Doc stuff. So, for those of you guys that don't know, JCP is an acronym, Joint Certification Program, and it allows you to access blueprints and drawings. So, essentially, the government will post a solicitation, which is a contract opportunity, and then be like, "Hey, we don't have a preferred company that we want to make this. Anybody can make this. However, you need to have a certain certification to be able to make this. And then there's all kinds of stipulations and all kinds of quality assurance things that you have to be in compliance with because essentially you're making stuff from scratch. So as you can imagine, the amount of red tape that you have to deal with is significantly higher. So for most companies, I tell them like, hey, let's get our feet wet with everything else and figure out how the process works before we go into tech docs. But Gordon was a unique situation because he had already been in laboratory and optics equipment, and he was already making stuff for his commercial customers. So he went straight for the jugular and kind of cracked that code early on, which I think is a true example of like baptism by fire. And then if you just go for the jugular, then everything else just gets a lot easier because it's like, okay, well, it can't get any worse than this, right? No commercial off the shelf item or no like, oh, okay, I just need a vendor to give me this can ever be worse than dealing with like the whole JCP thing and having somebody manufacture something and doing the whole first article test thing and the whole 9 yards. So Gordon is a very unique situation for all of you guys out there watching this. And if somebody is watching this and they're in a similar situation to Gordon, maybe that's some inspiration for you guys to let you guys know that it is possible if you're already doing something like that in the commercial sector or the public sector to be able to transition it into the government contracting space. Okay, I'm going to shut up with my cliff notes, and Sam, you can go back. Go.
But yeah, one thing I think would it'd be interesting for you to elaborate on, Gordon, about your journey. And we were talking a little bit about this just off camera before we started. Some of the motivations of why you actually went into business for yourself. And like we have a lot of people, some people are already business owners looking to move into DLA, but a lot of other people perhaps watching this are going to potentially be starting a business for the first time, and they might think government contracting might be the route for them. But whether it's government contracting or any business, there's a lot of challenges that come with that, which you certainly had to face firsthand. So just talk a bit about, like, elaborate on some of that experience you had that you had to push through to get to where you are today when going into business for yourself.
Yeah, you're not kidding about that. It's definitely way harder, but the rewards are way higher to go into business for yourself. But for me, the motivation was, you know, anytime you have a job, you're pretty much. We were talking about this off camera before. Just I always say, job stolen from somewhere. JOB stands for just over broke. You're pretty much one emergency or one oh shit moment away from being completely broke. That could be a car breaking down. That could be a kid having an emergency. That could be a pet needing an emergency surgery. all of these things have happened at one point while I had my day job, which again I still have. But having that sort of ability to write your own paycheck, if it starts getting real, if you start getting into a hairy situation, for me that's priceless motivation. That was what really spurred me into entrepreneurship. I wanted to sort of have my own thing that I could develop and expand and build. So, I mean, my life prior to starting this company consisted of me, yeah, being in traffic for 20 hours, 18 to 20 hours, and that motivation to sort of get my own, forge my own destiny was my motivation. It's hard as hell. I always say this is like a get rich slow scheme. It doesn't happen right away. You have to grind a lot of this. It's not. I would say it's not complicated, but it is like very, it's hard. Like it's hard work. If it were easy, everyone would be doing this. But yeah, that was, I mean, my boss sent me on this path back in 2019. He had sent me, he said, hey, go read Rich Dad Poor Dad, How to Win Friends and Influence People, and Richest Man in Babylon. He sent me on this trajectory starting in 2019 that eventually matured into this company. I don't know if that answered the question. If I missed something, let me know.
No, no, you did, definitely did. And by the way, Richest Man in Babylon is a massively underrated book. It's a bit of an unknown gem. I highly recommend anyone read it. That is a gem of a book. But I think a lot of people would resonate with where you've come from, and you're absolutely right. Like I know from personal experiences and probably experiences you had, a job can seem like it's a lot of people do it for security, right? Because you know you're going to be getting paid. When it can be a bit of a fantasy sometimes. It only takes one thing to go wrong, so you're like, oh well, I wish if only I'd invested in some skills or I'd built something else. Not saying just go and quit your job, but invest in it, built something else that also pays you or you something that you own. It's going to serve you a lot more in the long run. And with that said, like what are some of the biggest changes, more on a personal level for you, Gordon? What are some of the biggest changes you've noticed in your life now of where you're at today as a result of the journey you've been on?
It's definitely that ability to, talking about it, the job income, that ability to write your own paycheck. If you win a large government contract, you can stick a giant paycheck into your pocket. Whereas if you're working at a steady job, raises are, they occur, but they're usually periodic, and especially in the last few years, you're racing against inflation, and that's been a race a lot of people in the last couple of years have not been winning. And that economic anxiety, I mean, right now you see a government shutdown happening. You have this sort of, some people that are in the public sector, they're double screwed right now, including some of the DCMA representatives and DLA people that we work with. A lot of those guys haven't been paid in like a month. But if you're on the entrepreneurship side, for me, it's given me all sorts of freedom to just go after and aim at something gigantic. And if I win, it's 100% my win, which is priceless. I cannot put a price tag on that. It's worth every bit of up all night hustling I've been doing for the last few years. And
A
it's
hundred
by,
percent.
yeah.
I
And
think I think one of the things is like, listen, when you lose in entrepreneurship, it's pretty much you got nobody else to blame. But when you win, you don't have to give anything to anybody else. Like there is nobody else that is taking, 30% off the top of like what you're making. There is nobody that, you have to like report whatever you made for the company, and then the company's going to take a portion of that. It's just like I won. So I get the spoils of victory. And I think that that's something that can give a lot of people a lot of peace of mind once they get on the other side of it, and then they figure it out. And I think also just the self confidence on like a very personal level, just the self confidence of knowing that like, okay, I can create, like I can take something from zero, something that does not exist, and then turn it into something that cash flows, turn it into something that allows me to put food on the table for myself, puts money away for whatever rainy day fund, or put money away for whatever kind of emergency. And I think that gives a lot of solitude. I mean, I know for me at least, in some points, knowing when like, okay, flying is going a little bit slow, we're just not getting as many hours as we would like to get this month, and then it's like, all right, well, we can always just go back to the well, go run the business and go bid on contracts. And I think it gives you a sense of, one, confidence, but then you can also kind of sleep at night when, like, if the job doesn't go super well, it's like, all right, well, I'll just hustle a little bit harder this weekend. Maybe I will just wake up at 7 a.m. on Saturday, and then we'll just submit some extra bids, or we'll get the ball rolling on like some of these longer contracts. And I think knowing that even when, quote unquote, most people would feel like their back is against the wall, you always have like kind of a way out. I think that that's something that provides like a lot of peace of mind once you get into entrepreneurship and then you get onto the other side of it. And even if you're starting out and you're watching this and you've only got, you know, one or two contracts underneath your belt, or you're fulfilling your first one, right? I know Sam and I, we talk to a lot of people that are in that position. Just knowing that you took something from, it didn't exist, it was not an entity, you hadn't received any money, there was no business bank account for DLA to pay you, even if it's that first contract, you know, $300, to now there's tangible dollars for your effort. There's a tangible entity. You are now on somebody's radar, right? Just finding solitude in that and like taking pride in that. I think those are some personal changes that I think a lot of entrepreneurs experience, even in the beginning, but even like all the way down the line, right? You kind of just always have that feeling of security, knowing that like, okay, I can do this. I am capable. So that's always like just a positive, pleasant experience, to know that kind of no matter what life throws at you, you know, you've got something to not fall back on, but almost like you got something to fight back with, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. And the other thing that, going back to that, what changed from before and after, there's this extreme ownership aspect, and steal from
Mm.
Jocko over there.
Jocko
That's
Willink, yeah.
yeah, that's you have a lot of that stuff in your ear when you're in a car for that long, and that's sort of parallel. Where I went before was a lot of woe is me shit, where I'm like, oh, my car broke again, this that. And it's just like that sort of transition from that to everything that I do. You mentioned it before. If I get a contract, it is 100% on me. If I lose a contract, we have that saying in jujitsu: you either win or you learn. Like you get your ass kicked all the time, and every single time that happens, it's 100% your fault, and you get to learn from it each time. And that switch in mindset definitely happened when I started my own business. It's all on me, whether I succeed or I fail. It's all on me, and I got to learn from it, every mistake.
Can I ask a question about that? I don't think we've had anybody on the channel say that specifically in that way. As a business owner, especially once you get to like economies of scale, right? And now there's other people involved because you've duplicated yourself, or now you have people around you that are far better at what they do for the business or in your business than you could be, or as a father, or you know, as somebody's partner. What changes has that shifted mindset brought upon all those other people in your life, the whole extreme ownership thing? Like what
Yeah.
has that changed for you in your life in relation to other people?
Oh yeah. It's that ownership that's a transferable skill, like where it's how you do anything is how you do everything. Like if you're applying that mindset to how you operate a business, where if you, like, say you have somebody working for you and they screw up, I would always now look at that, be like, I screwed up in that I didn't write a proper SOP and teach it right. So a lot of people will just sort of shift blame and try to get out of that stuff. Like, it's if you just sort of make as much as possible on you, that it's always going to be your screw up, you tend to learn faster. That's been my experience. So if I
Mm,
try to own this, and that works in relationships too, that works with my kids, it works with the wife. A lot of times, if something went wrong, if I just sort of look for a way, like, okay, what part of this did I screw up that I can tweak, I can adjust, I can make it better next time. If I'm constantly scanning on the horizon for that, it works with everything. And I mentioned it before. I mean, this is like, I'm probably like one of these CrossFit guys, but like I do Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, and it's the same thing. Like every single time you step on the mats, you get your ass kicked. You learn something. It's usually it's a metaphor for that. You get a stark notification that you're doing something wrong when someone puts you in an armbar or a choke. Like you're like, oh, I have to, like, it's just me. If I screwed something up, that means I didn't do something proper technically. So it's sort of, it transfers in all areas. So it's work, it's personal, it's It's everything. So if that mindset, that's the one shift anyone can make. I would recommend tapping into that one.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think
100%.
to add to that, Gordon, you mentioned that change in mindset. I think with a lot of people, it can seem quite far out to like be have to have a business at a certain level. And um, what I think I take from the journey you've been on is, let's say you want to be a seven-figure business owner right now, but right now you're working a job and there's that clear gap there. Um, One thing is having the skill set, right, to actually know what to do to have a business, but everyone has to walk through the fire, and it's one thing. I think one of the biggest things is you have to actually sort of have that internal shift that you have to walk like that person who is running a seven-figure business. You have to start doing the things in a seven-figure business. So it's those habits around everything else that you do, like being disciplined in other areas, creates that bigger shift that you said. How you do how you do anything is how you do everything, right? And I think for a lot of people, it's almost it can be that kind of that trap of hoping and praying that it's kind of going to happen.
Mm.
When and you can pay for mentorships, you can pay for coaching, you can work with us. One thing we cannot do for you is we cannot shift your identity for you into being that
Nobody's
seven
coming to
figure business
save you.
owners. Yeah,
Yep.
we will do our absolute best to give you the information you need and support you on those difficult days. But it has to be, but it needs to be that way, because to take that away from someone would be doing them a disservice, and that's what gives you that confidence that you have like now as you sit in this position as to when you were before. And you said you were maybe that kind of woe is me, my car's broken down, but nowadays it's like no, I'm in charge. I'm the person leading this operation, and you get the fruits of your labor. So that internal shift, I think, is massive. But just talking a little bit more though, Gordon, like specifically to do with DLA, what were some of the challenges you found just specifically on like the business itself when it comes to doing business with the Defense Logistics Agency? What were some challenges there?
Yeah, DLA itself is basically doing government contracting on hard mode, and doing DLA tech docs is like doing hard mode almost on like expert or veteran mode or some crazy video game setting that I can't remember what it's called. It's if you can do this, you can pretty much do anything in the government space much easier. So it's like you see the guy in the on deck circle swinging like the heavy donut weight on the bat. It's DLA's like that. It's a pain in the ass. Their website looks like it was made by some 15-year-old in 1997. It's hell. It's hard as hell. It's intimidating. But once you start cracking that door a little bit open, and I'd say like these classes are indispensable for that mentorship. These classes, if you're just doing it by yourself, it's an absolute nightmare. So the DLA, what I ran into, the hardest things were finding manufacturers that I still have problems with that. Where you get a tech doc over to a manufacturer, they either blow you off, they give you some crazy high quote. I know in the COTS area with a lot of the approved source guys that are, guys that are in these channels, they have that problem too, where it's just like you basically get blown off by most of the manufacturers and suppliers you reach out to. They give you crazy high quotes, which you look from the history and you're like, I'm not winning at this price is ridiculous. Um, there are other problems I've had getting my ISO 9001 in a
Mm.
hurry. I won a contract. I have a DCMA rep sitting with me at my kitchen table. And he said, "So, where's your ISO 9001 manual?" I'm like, "My what?" So, so I have a contract now. All of a sudden, I gotta hit the brakes on it. I have to go get an ISO 9001 QMS system from scratch, put my contract on hold, get approved, get everything, and then get DCMA back to then approve me with my ISO 9001.
For the
So
people that don't know, can you just explain to them what ISO 9001 is, and then what is a QMS, and then explain to them why DCMA requires that? And for those of you guys that don't know, DCMA, Defense Contract Management Agency, these people are basically like, imagine you're driving on the highway and then there's a state trooper just randomly pulling you over to make sure you've got your license and your registration because you were going 5 over the limit. DCMA is like that for DLA, and they have an important job. Sometimes they can be a little bit of a pain in the ass or a little bit hard asses, but they have an important job, and they require companies that manufacture things or are getting things manufactured on their behalf to have ISO 9001 and QMS. So could you just explain for maybe somebody who's like maybe 19, 20, 21 wants to get into this but has never heard of ISO or a QMS.
Yeah, I kind of learned it myself just on the job. It's basically a system where DCMA or the DLA or any customer that you have can just look at your operation, and it's an international standard where they can show that you have systems for controlling your inventory manage, your counterfeit observation processes, your receiving, your shipping, pretty much accounting, every aspect of your business should be written down in this sort of procedure manual that conforms to an international standard. Um, if you're getting into manufacturing, you absolutely have to get this, which now I know. I didn't know this at the time because I was kind of flying blind, but it sort of tells DCMA and then the DLA by proxy that this company, they have their shit together. They know exactly what they're doing. They have a very high standard, and then there's levels above that, which there's AS 9100, which at some point you might want to get. I'm thinking of it, but it basically you get audited by an international by some agency that says, hey, this company's good. And then on top of that, DCMA, who, like you said, they're like the quality cops for DLA. They'll come by and they'll give you additional audits to make sure. They're like, hey, your QMS system, how do you control for this? And I've had audits with DCMA and with the international. But what that does do is when you go through all these difficult steps, it unlocks bigger and bigger prizes. And that's actually something I would recommend in the space is that everybody's doing the easy stuff where it's just like you go flip some, screw or bolts you get off a Granger, and you add like you're competing with 10 other companies for, 5-10% margins when you're first getting in there. That's the easy stuff. In this space, the harder stuff, the more and more harder problems you get to solve, the more money's behind those. And each one of those problems is QMS, DCMA, eventually CMMC, and
Mm.
at some point the SAR process, which I tried to go through and I face planted like crazy. That is like the harder each one of these things is, the more money there is. That's what I've seen myself.
Yeah, the SAR process is a source approval request process. So pretty much to become one of those companies that's listed on DIBS, when you click that NSN hyperlink, basically one of the companies that the government wants to purchase the material from and says like, hey, this is who you have to go to if you want to buy this, right? So whenever you see a company that's listed as the approved source bidding on the procurement history, just know they went through that SAR process, source approval request process. But it is common knowledge, and I think the people that have gone through this don't have any problem sharing this because they're like, I don't think anybody that we tell this to is actually going to go through the process of doing it. It's common knowledge that your margins on the low end, worst case scenario, are 40%. Like on a bad day, you do 40% if you're an approved source for DLA. These guys easily do anywhere from 80 to 200% margins once they become an approved source. But it's a gauntlet. It is an absolute gauntlet, and you have to go through the ESA, the engineering support activity, and they ask for all kinds of documentation that, quite frankly, I have not. I looked at, and as quickly as I opened up the book, I closed it right back up. I don't know if that's something that I will be doing in the near future at some point eventually, but definitely not anytime soon. But I think one cool thing once you get into the higher level stuff when it comes to like ISO and JCP and DCMA, you get like pretty immediate feedback. Like they will tell you very quickly as to whether or not what you're doing is right or wrong. And I think that's a cool thing. Whereas like even in our business, Sam, right? We've tried different marketing things. We didn't know that we were going to fail or that we were failing for months on end, 3-4 months later. Whereas with DLA, you get immediate feedback. They tell you, whether or not you won or lost. Whether or not if you did win, you're going to be able to fulfill it properly. So I think the cool thing about the higher level stuff is not only do you make more money, you figure out really quickly whether or not what you're doing is working, which allows you to learn quite quickly. So
You've got like one customer, right? Which I think is what's so cool about this business model is you, in a way, you have one client and they tell you what they need. From like a marketing standpoint, I can't really think of many more straightforward businesses or
Yeah.
business models to be in, right?
Oh,
And you think of
absolutely.
all these other businesses of like that pay thousands on lead generation services and advertising services. You don't need to worry about any of that with with this
No,
business.
not at all. And you have a customer that's also a teacher too. Like that's what I'd recommend. Like the earliest that you can get in there, get a DCMA one because that'll like it'll kick you around a little bit. Like it'll find all you like they'll find all your shortcomings and they'll up your game. Like I'd recommend getting DCMA audits as soon as like you get a few under your belt that are like destinations. I would run toward. I learned probably as much in the classes that I've been taking as I learned from just DCMA. Just coming here and telling me,
Hmm.
hey, that packaging you did sucks, or hey, this process that you're doing is no good. We can't allow this material. So, where they had my first one, they had to come back 3 or 4 times for one contract, and each time I'm getting a little bit better. So, I'd look at it like just another way to get some classroom training. And so DLA's pretty awesome customer in that respect.
Yeah, one thing I do find quite funny about you, Gordon, when because we had our first conversation about a year ago, we started working together pretty much straight away, and you were a little bit of a unique case because we pretty much I don't think we really heard from you for about a year until you and I then caught up, and I was like, how's everything been? How have you been going? And then you were like, well, my life's completely changed. So I've grown this business, I'm now doing this, and I was like, well. I didn't hear from you for a year. Which, by the
I've
way,
been
when people
working.
do work with us, we typically, we work very hands-on with our clients. I don't recommend anyone to do what Gordon did. But Gordon just took the materials that we provide, took the resources, and just went at it. Each to their own. People learn in their own ways, and it's clearly worked very well for you. What did you get out of investing in yourself and working with us? What was
Oh
some of
yeah.
the biggest things you took from working with Nomiad?
Well, absolutely. I mean, I went incognito for a little while, but I was lurking the whole time. I was watching every single
You
video
were
that
in
put
the
out
you
there.
were in the group coaching calls though. You
Yeah,
were in the group
I've
coaching
been around.
calls.
I've been
Yeah.
kind of
Okay.
hanging out in the background, just being a sponge, just gathering as much information. Every conversation that you have with a student or just every one of your videos, I'm just taking notes, just quietly just working in the background. But I've been around the whole time, and I've also been texting Day directly with random questions that pop up, which is, by the way, one of the biggest things I was able to get out of working with you. It's just the fact that I can get you up in the morning and I could get, a text back after you come back from, a flight you're on and just give me direct feedback to these random questions I have. But I'd say the biggest thing I got from your class was the surplus, which I'd never even heard of that being a thing. So I basically took every single bit that you have in surplus and I'm just on ILS Smart. That's actually my biggest thing that I want to work on for this upcoming year is just start just nailing some wins. I just got my ILS Smart re-up membership, and I'm going ham on this thing. So that's been my biggest thing so far. I got a couple of hits, but almost got a big win, but not quite there yet. So that's the biggest thing I've gotten from you. And just a lot of little details. Like it's hard to even say directly. It's just I've gotten so many like gems and bits of sauce just from like random videos I'm piecing together. Like I learned a ton in a year from you guys. So thank you for that.
Amazing, amazing. And where you can be as transparent as you want. You don't have to ask this question if you don't want to, but
Mhm.
I want to ask it. Where is the business at now in terms of where it was before, like in regards to numbers and
Yes.
things like that? If you want to share.
Yeah, absolutely. So, doubled. So when I first encountered you guys in 2024, late 2024, that year we did, and this is combining DLA is our biggest customer, but they're tied with a couple others. But we were at just under 500 in sales, 500K in sales for that year. And this year, as of
Mhm.
October, we just passed the seven-figure mark. October 2025, we just passed a million. So, and that's thank you very much, guys. That's you're definitely a part of that.
You're in a seven figure Hall of Fame. You've been inducted live on this call.
Yeah, I got some good
As Sam
company in
would
there.
say, I knight you, sir.
I'm in the round table. The with some other big names like Richard's there, a couple other guys. You guys are killing it. I watch what you guys are doing on the GovCon side, and I'm like I got a lot of inspiration from just learning from you guys. But I this year I also found a random niche which I'd mentioned on another call with you, Day, that I'm doing DLA, I'm doing SAM.gov, I'm doing direct stuff, but I also found out that there's basically international SAM.govs pretty much all over the planet, and I started doing that this year, and that's part of where I got my big jump. So I found a UK government bid, and that was my biggest win of the year so far this year. Is for
Yeah,
optics for the UK
I
government.
help line that up. I've got a
That
few
was Sam.
connections in there. No, I'm joking.
Sam
I'm
brokered
joking.
that in
I didn't.
spirit.
I
This,
didn't know. I didn't
this
do
side
that.
of the pond. So
Yeah,
not FMS, but like you can actually go and find, just like they do in SAM.gov, they put out bids, and every country has their own version of that. And if you sleuth around there, there's all sorts of opportunities out there too. So got very lucky this year.
that's one of
Amazing.
the things that I definitely want to pick your brain on, Gordon. And then also we got some new information on how to expand pretty much the whole surplus thing. We've found out pretty much how to go and get these forecasts and figure out what DLA is going to buy, and then you can go to auctions and then purchase stuff prior to it coming there, or prior to the solicitation being posted, and then basically sniping the surplus like 3 to 6 weeks before it comes out, and then having it in your warehouse or your home, and then bidding on it, which for the longest time went against everything that we stood for, because I was just like, I don't believe in holding inventory. But under circumstances like this, when it comes to surplus, and we've found a way to basically get like almost not quite a guarantee of like when they're going to purchase it, but a guarantee of the fact that like they are going to purchase it. So that's one of the things that we want to add to surplus. And then there's another thing for all you guys watching. I just want to give you guys a nugget. I'll just give you guys a nugget. I'll give you guys some sauce. So everybody knows about the priority ratings, and Gordon, maybe this is something that can help you out. The reason I'm bringing this up on this call is because I was looking at some stuff, and it happened to be like optics related, when I was testing out this theory. So I heard on good authority, somebody was like, oh, well, there's another way to test the authority of or the requirements of a contract, like when it has to be expedited, like what's the priority of it. So when you look at the delivery days, ADO at delivery of order, like 20 ADO or 168 ADO, basically the lead time that DLA wants, right? So if you go and you look at stuff that is over a year old, so you guys know I love my 3 to 18 month window, but if you look at stuff that's over a year old and then it has less than a 30-day ADO, and then you scroll down to the bottom of section A, this is some sauce here. So like, comment, subscribe. Nobody else is giving this out on the internet for free. And you scroll down to the bottom of section A, and then you look at what the original proposed delivery date was, and you see a date that has since passed from today's date, or whatever date you're watching this video, or whatever date you look at the contract, and then you look above that and you see a date that says 000, meaning that like the original proposed delivery date has since passed and the new delivery date is just a bunch of zeros, it means that DLA needs it so bad that they will prioritize purchasing it over a DX or a DO priority contract. And just something to sweeten the pie for you guys, when there is no procurement history on these contracts, you essentially can charge whatever you want. I hope somebody from DLA doesn't see that and accuse me of price gouging, but I just want to let all of you guys know that there are these kinds of contracts out there. That is some free sauce for you guys. I'll be dropping a tutorial on that once it works. We've gotten a bunch of revals on them. We have not won an award, but I heard about it last week, and we've gotten 8 revals. We've gotten 8 revals in 1 week. So remember, over a year old, less than 30 days ADO, and the delivery date at the bottom of section A has passed, and you see 000 for the new delivery date. That means DLA needs it so badly, they will prioritize it over whatever current contracts that are being issued for the day. So that's some sauce for you guys out there. I hope somebody takes advantage of that, and leave a like if you guys test it out and it makes you some money.
Just took some notes on that right now. Just you were talking.
We're gonna listen. We're gonna. I'll send you the stuff that I saw, because the reason I'm bringing it up is because I was testing it yesterday, and it was literally for some. It was some kind of. it was some kind of optics, like I think it was like a lens or something for some kind of like helmet or something like that. And I'm like,
Yep.
okay, I should tell Gordon about this. So
Might have been night
that is
vision.
for you. Yeah, go check that out in your FSE codes, Gordon, and then try it. I guarantee you will get a revow within like 10 days. Guarantee it. But all right, Sam, you can go back. I always say I'm not going to talk, but I always say
It's so funny though. Probably like the last three people I've spoken to today on calls, people are like, I can't believe you guys give this out for free, the stuff you say on your videos. And I'm like, hey, look, we're doing the Lord's work, guys. We've got nothing to gatekeep, you know. Whoever they paid to hear the same information, it's like, yeah, it's all free over here. You know what I
I
mean?
I think I think at the end of the day, our goal is to give people information, and then if people want the implementation and they want clarification on that, fine, come to us. But I don't believe that it serves anybody to gatekeep stuff, and I think that um, the market and the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, it will it will treat you accordingly. The golden rule is
Mm.
do unto others as you would have others do unto you. I Gordon told me about the global tenders thing for free. Like he didn't bust my balls to be like, yo, this is what I'm
No,
doing.
he
Like
hasn't sent the invoice yet. That's what he hasn't done.
yeah, I haven't been
You just
we
wait,
haven't
it's
been
coming now.
we haven't been billed yet. But yeah, no, Gordon told me that sauce for free. And it's like if I was a new business owner, and who knows, maybe there will be another facet of Namyad coming in the next couple weeks. Wink wink. I would want somebody to, just be transparent and open and honest with me. So it's like if we could do that for somebody else, or if somebody else has been struggling to find information and we can give it to somebody and make their life easier, why wouldn't we? Why withhold that information? And I think when it comes to having a positive impact on your marketplace or in your arena, that's the best way to do it. Like don't gatekeep, don't withhold stuff. Like just
Mm.
give out the sauce, and then if somebody wants help on the implementation of the sauce, sure, then get in touch with us. But if you're just looking for the sauce, we'll give it to you, kind of thing.
Mm.
I've
Yeah.
been pretty much doing that the whole time, just sharing. I learned when I find that when I'm just giving away stuff that I've learned, I usually get stuff from other people that, oh, by the way, you figured this out. Try this, try that, try this. And this space doesn't really make sense to gatekeep too much. First of all, almost all this stuff is public. So, I mean, it's like you can't really hide what it is you're selling. I mean, someone punches in my cage code, they can see everything I'm working on anyway for DLA. So, really no sense in playing hide the ball there either. But also, it just makes people trust you more if you're just more transparent and
Mm.
open, pulling the chairs. So, which is how you build business relationships. You gotta get along and
Mm.
trust people. So the whole hide the ball thing doesn't really, especially in like this generation, this day and age, it doesn't really jive with people too much. It's just like the more open you are, the more you're going to get back, just like you said.
And the information is everywhere. So if somebody asks you something and you tell them the opposite and then they go look it up, everybody has access to information. Like it's not like 30, 40, 50 years ago where nobody had the information and then you could kind of manipulate the market that way. Somebody asks you something, if you lie about it, they go look it up. ChatGPT is free. Google is free, my boy. People will figure out whether or not you are a genuine person or not really quickly. So it's like just don't even give anybody any ammunition. Just be a giving person. Just be a generous person. But Sam, what else do we have on the agenda?
I think this is any as you want to cover. Pretty much covered anything. My last question I really wanted to throw over to Gordon was just if there's any final thoughts you wanted to share or anything just you would like to share with someone who was maybe in your position a year ago or a little bit before that, either considering working with us or trying to get into DLA space. Is there anything, parting wisdom you'd maybe want to share with them or advice you'd want to share on to those people?
Absolutely. I would definitely, I've mentioned it before, but I would definitely not do this alone. It, it takes a special kind of psycho that can look at all this stuff and just like, figure out how to just nail this right out of the gate. This is not easy. This is complicated stuff. It is doable, but unless you're taking a class like this, you're pretty much just you're going to probably burn out and quit. That's the truth of the matter. Like that almost happened to me like early on in the process. It was just like I thought I was like, yeah, this is a scam. This isn't working. This is like probably only big companies are winning this stuff. And if you have other people in classes with you in communities that are winning, I mean, you'll eventually see fellow travelers, and if you don't have mentors and fellow travelers, it's you're not gonna last in this. So you definitely need that. Like, and I,
Mm.
if you invest in this now, it's pretty much the only way to do this. Like I would say, there's there's other just having conversations with class members, even in your class and in the community. They'll be like, "Oh, I've been winning, so if other people are winning, you're like, I could probably win too." And that's the free content that you give out. Like you said, it's amazing. Like you could pretty much just watch a lot of that and figure out how to win, but getting into the course is just it just goes into that much more detail, and it's worth every single penny I put into it. It's incredible. But I would also say that like the habits, like anyone looking to start this, like basically you're building a business, and I would just get used to that feeling of getting rejected, getting punched in the face, and just like you know they say that in the black belts and white belt that never quit. Just keep showing up, and just you're eventually gonna get traction. I mean, you stick around long enough, you'll learn every single time you miss one. You'll learn something each time. You'll eventually get there.
You know what they say: if you want to go fast, you go alone. If you want to go far, you go together. And I
Amen.
think that cannot be understated in business. If you can duplicate yourself, or you can work with somebody who is more proficient than you in an area, and you can in exchange just give them some sort of value, it's like a mutually beneficial relationship, and you will save yourself some time. Like, why wouldn't you? And I think another thing, it's not going to be, I think we say it in every video, but we haven't been saying it like as prominently. It's not a get rich quick scheme. This is not a you sit down for the computer and then you immediately are making $1,000 a day. This is not that. I'm not here to tell you that it is, but this is a if you sit your ass down and you get punched in the face for maybe a couple months, then you'll start punching back, and then in a year, then it's like, okay, now I have something I can give my kids. Now I have something that I can use to put food on the table, and I can tell everybody else about, and I can have some peace of mind, and have some security. But this is not a I'm going to do this and then I'm going to be a millionaire in 6 months. That's not what this is. That's not what this is. But I appreciate you taking the time, Gordon. I always say, as you guys become more and more successful, the opportunity cost of spending this 45 minutes with us in the middle of the week, especially in the morning when your bandwidth is fresh, it's not lost on us. So
Anytime.
we're very, very grateful.
My pleasure. And
We
anytime. This is worth every second. And so I love chatting with you again, talking. Every time we talk, I learn something, and it's my pleasure to be in here. And it's like you said, it's a get rich slow scheme is what I like to call it. So it'll it's most people are going to quit. That's the truth of the matter. It's the same thing. Like most people will start this, and a lot of them will just look at how difficult it is. It's just entrepreneurship in general. Like most people will just there's another reason why I wouldn't worry about giving out free sauce, because most people aren't going to do it. They'll look at it, and I'd
Mm.
say
100%.
probably 90% of people will quit, and then that 10% of savages will continue on, and that's your core right there.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. Doesn't cost us anything to give out free sauce. And to be honest, I don't feel bad about telling you guys what we're doing or what strategies we're implementing, because most of you guys watching this, and I hope you use this as motivation. I hope you prove me wrong. Like, please prove Gordon and myself wrong. But most of you guys watching, for fact of the matter is, you're not going to do anything with it. So it's no skin off of our back to be honest and genuine. And I hope that this is the video where you see my face and you're like, F that guy, I'm going to prove him wrong, and I'm going to go make something shake. But until
Yeah.
until then, prove us otherwise.
Yeah, yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's one of the best motivators. Be like proving people wrong. Be like, yeah, they said I couldn't do it. I'm going to be the one that. And you kind of need that attitude to succeed in this, because it's a much easier to just work a job. You get told exactly what to do. With this, you're just some like you know complete psycho, just flapping around in the wind here, just like taking
Literally.
shots. And then like
Yeah,
you've got to be a
you're
little
just
bit crazy to do this.
taking shots in the dark. You're literally taking shots in the dark. And the thing about entrepreneurship is, you wake up every day when you're your own boss, there's nobody to tell you what to do. Only you know what tasks you have to prioritize. Only you know what phone calls to make, what emails to reply to, what bids to submit that are gonna put food on the table. Only you know. There is no structure. There is no guidance. There is no path. Sam always says, guys, the path illuminates as you walk it. You just kind of gotta one foot in front of the other, and then you kind of figure it out as you go. So it was an absolute pleasure, Sam. Thank
Yeah,
you for being here with
great to
us
be here.
at 1
Great to
a.m.
talk to you guys.
It was worth staying up for. It was worth staying up for.
Get some
So
sleep, Sam.
Yeah,
get some sleep, buddy.
I'll get some sleep. But it's been a pleasure, Gordon. It was yeah, I'm glad we reconnected. Yeah, and it was very, very just amazing to see the story you had, the changes, because that's that's why we're here. That's why we do what we do. And when it comes off, and as I said, we've now got a new seven-figure inductee. It just
We're almost at
I
10
sleep a
million.
little bit easier.
We're
Sleep a little
almost
bit
at
easier
10
now.
million in student revenue. Actually, we're at like 9.2. We just need one of you guys, or collectively somebody to get to
Yeah.
like somebody collectively to get to like 800 grand, so we can say we're at 10. But yeah, with Gordon, giving us that update last month, we're at $9.2 million
Wow.
in students revenue,
There's
almost
got
at
to be
10 million.
another Gordon somewhere we've worked
Yeah,
with that came
somebody
in
out
about a year
there,
ago. Phone
come
numbers
You
out
are
guys
of the
got
locked
some.
up.
shadows,
And it's
reveal
now just a
yourself.
You guys
you
got some
know.
silent assassin hanging out in the background, just quietly, just like raking it in.
Well, if you're out there, please, we're sending out the bat signal, please. But thank you guys. It was a pleasure. Everybody have a good one.